On Thursday, Republican gubernatorial nominee Lee Zeldin and his lieutenant governor nominee Allison Esposito excoriated Governor Kathy Hochul over cashless bail, citing the recent cashless bail release of a rape suspect with a horrifying record of violence against women. Zeldin and Esposito pledged to repeal liberal bail reforms. Changes to long-standing bail and sentencing laws have earned the ire of public safety-minded voters that claim left-wing criminal justice reforms have endangered communities. Democrats have countered that bail reforms have alleviated inequitable incarceration policies and strengthened police-community relations. Rising crime in places like New York City has been a key issue for Republicans heading into the midterms, who see it as a way to appeal to moderate and even some Democratic voters.
This case is as sickening and gut-wrenching as it gets. When you decide to run for office, if you serve an elected office, you're a candidate, especially in a big state like New York, you spend a lot of time on the road. I lost count of how many dozens of times I've been to Buffalo and Erie County throughout this campaign. And I look forward to coming back over and over and over again. This morning was the start of my daughter's 11th grade year. They're turning 16 in 4 weeks. And it's a sacrifice on the part of our family when we run, but it's worth it. If we weren't taking on this challenge of running, and for myself, for Allison and Joe, the three of us left positions that we enjoyed serving in to be all in on this challenge to save our state. It's a sacrifice for our family, but it's worth it. I wouldn't be here with all of you this morning. I've asked the governor to finish a sentence, a very basic request. New York leads the entire nation in population loss because. Now, I know the answer to that. I'd like to hear the governor answer that. I believe that the reason why New York leads the entire nation in population loss is because people are hitting their breaking point in the state, and they feel like their safety, their wallets, their freedom are under attack, so they decide to leave. They believe that if they go to another state, that their money will go further, they'll feel safer, they'll live life freer. That's why New York leads the entire nation in population loss. We all have an opportunity right now. It's September 1st. There's an election coming up November 8th. We can all do our part. Republicans, Democrats, Independents. This is about us as New Yorkers. To fix this state, to save this state. When you look through the facts of this particular case, where Saracena gets arrested in February, the judge does not have discretion to keep Saracena behind bars. There's no discretion. So when we say we need to repeal cashless bail and give judges discretion to weigh dangerousness and flight risk and past criminal record and seriousness of the offense, look at this case. The judge in February had zero discretion whatsoever to keep this person behind bars. A mandatory cashless bail release. Now, if the March, February incidents never take place, then maybe the conversation is a bit different. The person gets released about a year ago and he commits this rape. And you look back, and as far as the justice system goes, law enforcement, prosecutors, judges, there isn't the same opportunity as we have right here where the system could work and prevent a rape. I want to fix the system, and we have the ideas to do it, that would have prevented this rape from taking place. When Kathy Hochul says that there's no data to support our call to overhaul cashless bail, we think about individual cases where people have lost their lives at the hands of someone who was released on cashless bail. And any one of these stories is enough data to justify action. The family of 93-year-old Connie Torrey in Syracuse, she was murdered by somebody released on cashless bail. In Westchester, somebody was arrested on a double manslaughter in Yonkers. The person who committed that offense was released on cashless bail for an arson. In July, there was a case where 2 Mexican cartel drug smugglers were busted with $1.2 million worth of crystal meth. Think of how many people that can kill. Instantly released on cashless bail. Now, if somebody who advocates for cashless bail wants to make the argument that if you are not a danger, it's a low-level offense, you're not a flight risk, you have a past clean record, and the only reason why you would be stuck behind bars is because you cannot afford $100. That's why we're talking about judges having discretion. And this is just one of many issues related to the state and the criminal justice system. Yeah, we need our district attorneys doing their job. Yeah, we need all judges enforcing the law. Absolutely. But this is a case that highlights exactly why judges in every single case should have the ability to keep somebody behind bars when they assess that in that case, that person is a danger to society. And it's not just Republicans who are calling for this. The mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, I served with him in the state senate for 4 years. He says that the state legislature and governor should have a special session to overhaul cashless bail and add a dangerousness standard. I agree. That can happen right now. You look at the coverage coming out of Buffalo on this case involving one criminal, and there's your data. Allison Esposito served 25 years in the NYPD. Her father was an NYPD chief. Allison would have become an NYPD chief. She wanted to not just follow in her father's footsteps, but was going to outrank him soon enough in the NYPD. And she retired to be our candidate to be our state's next lieutenant governor. There is no one I know who is better equipped for this moment to serve as our state's next lieutenant governor. She's seen it firsthand on the streets. She has law enforcement in her blood, in her heart. She stands for law and order and public safety, and I'm confident that with a lieutenant governor like Allison Esposito, I will have a partner in Albany who understands exactly how to prevent cases just like this. It would have been one less rape in the state of New York. Allison.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Here we are again. Here we are again, standing for those who can't stand for themselves. Here we are again, representing the innocent victims of the state of New York that are losing their lives and being tortured as a result of reckless policies. Here we are again talking about data points. No, we're not talking about data points, Governor Hochul. We're talking about victims. This was a horrific crime, and it could have been avoided. It could have been avoided. Governor Hochul wants to talk about data points. We want to talk about victims. The victims are the data points. Their family and friends are the data points. We're talking about people. Governor Hochul puts power before people, and it's time we put an end to that. This is absolutely one of the worst crimes I've seen, and I'm a cop. And I was a domestic violence cop and sergeant for a period of time. You know what it's like to have a victim look into your eyes and say you can't protect me? Because the laws aren't protecting them? Because law enforcement is shackled, or our judicial and criminal justice system is shackled and apologizing for itself by releasing perpetrators back on the street to re-victimize? You have any idea what an empty feeling that is as a cop? I can't imagine what it feels like as a judge when you have an individual like Saracena who has decades worth of arrests in horrible domestic violence cases. His ex-wife, he beat more than an estimated 200 times. Once with a steel-toed boot, kicking her so hard he ruptured her spleen. Arrested and released, he goes on to rape a woman. But it wasn't just a rape. He dragged her across state lines, beating her so badly in the car that her jaw was broken multiple times. He stabbed her with an ice pick, put her in the trunk, then dragged her outside of the car and raped her. He served time and was released on parole. He was released, but we know his history. When a judge looked at this case in February and it was a domestic harassment stalking charge, anyone could see what was going to happen next. Just by looking at this man's history, anyone could see that he was going to do it again. We released him to do it again. Our government's #1 job is to protect its people, and it's failing miserably. They released him to do it again. He wasn't allowed to set bail, and Saracena was let back onto the street. She was given an order of protection, but what does that matter if when he violates it 2 times after that, we're going to do nothing about it? It's just paper. Empty promises to victims who are suffering. We're going to do nothing about it. And the criminals know it. And released again to reoffend 2 more times. Finally, yet another data point, our 4th victim that we're talking about, and there have been multiple others. Yet again, another data point of a woman who was held against her will and raped. It didn't have to happen. Government's #1 job, #1 priority is to protect its people. And we now exist in a New York State government that is protecting criminals, emboldening them to do whatever they want with no consequences. It's enough. I am so sick of standing here and looking at the pain in victims' eyes. I am so sick of looking at family members and saying that we have failed you. I am sick of calling on Albany elected officials that are clueless and spineless to do the right thing. I now call on the people of the state of New York to stand with us, to stand with common sense, to stand with victims, to stand against criminals. Come out. Let your voices be heard. November 8th is Election Day, and it is time. It is time. This is not a red wave. This is a common sense wave. Republicans, Democrats, independents, and people who have never voted before are standing with us. All over this state we hear it. This is unacceptable. Governor Hochul, you need to be fired. You're failing to do your job. And come November 8th, I'm confident that the people of the state of New York will let you know that. Thank you.